Most newlyweds choose Paris, or a quiet seaside town, for their honeymoon. But the young couple in this book chooses to leave the world altogether. The groom is a wealthy English aristocrat and a passionate inventor, and his bride is a bold woman who refuses to be frightened away from adventure. On their wedding night, the vehicle they board is not a carriage or a train, but a spacecraft of the groom's own design, one that defies gravity itself. Their destination is not a city or a country, but the moon, Venus, Mars, and even the farther corners of the solar system. This is a boundless work of science fiction, written at a time when rockets did not yet exist, and even the airplane was barely more than a dream. So how did a writer at the very start of a new century dare to send two people wandering among the planets? Let me tell you the story.
George Chetwynd Griffith was born in England in the second half of the 19th century. He earned his living through journalism and travel writing, touring many parts of the world in person, taking long sea voyages aboard steamships, and that restless, wandering spirit found its way directly into his fiction. Griffith was an extraordinarily prolific writer in his day, producing novel after novel, serialized week by week in the popular magazines of the era, adopting a style meant to both thrill and inform his readers at once. In those years, science fiction did not yet exist as a clearly named genre. Writers instead called this kind of work scientific romance or future war fiction. Griffith was one of the most productive names in that movement, writing books about coming wars, flying warships, and sweeping technological revolutions, the most famous of which described a secret revolutionary organization that reshaped the world using fleets of airships. Around the same time, a younger writer named H.G. Wells was exploring similar territory, and for readers of that era, the two of them were seen as pioneers of this entirely new kind of storytelling. Griffith's books reached a wide readership in their day. These serialized tales, published chapter by chapter in newspapers and magazines, were among the most popular forms of entertainment of the time, and Griffith became a name eagerly awaited by those readers. He was not only a writer of fiction, but a working journalist known for his real travels, and the observations he gathered while circling the globe lent his imagined distant planets an odd, tangible realism. This novel belongs to the mature phase of his career, among the works he produced in the opening years of the 20th century, and it stands as a charming example of how the growing scientific curiosity of the age seeped directly into popular fiction. So what actually happens in this book? A young, wealthy English lord decides to set off on his honeymoon aboard a spacecraft of his own design, one capable of neutralizing gravity itself. Rather than fearing the idea, his new wife insists on boarding the ship herself, and the two of them plunge into the adventure together. The ship first heads for the moon, where they find an airless, barren, silent world, craters filled with knife-edged shadows, a dead stillness undisturbed by any wind. They then change course for Venus, where, according to the scientific thinking of the period, thick cloud cover was widely imagined to conceal a primitive, hot, humid world underneath, and the novel draws on exactly that idea to bring the couple face to face with a strange, unexpected form of life there. The next stop on their journey is Mars, where many scientists and writers of the era believed there might be traces of an ancient, perhaps dying civilization on the red planet. Griffith carries this popular belief straight into his novel, ensuring that every stop the couple makes among the planets brings a new danger, a new discovery, and a new moment of wonder. Throughout the book, technical daydreams intertwine with the scientific speculation of the period, and the novel moves forward as both a love story and an epic of exploration. The couple test their devotion to one another against the dangers of this extraordinary voyage, and each new planet offers a fresh scene for both science and romance. Griffith's fiction draws on the real astronomical debates of his day, though it aims less at scientific accuracy than at creating a sense of adventure and wonder that carries the reader along. As the ship pushes past the boundaries of the known world, the couple lives through a series of extraordinary encounters that test the trust and courage between them,
and the novel becomes, in the end, less a straightforward tale of scientific travel than a shared journey into a common fate. Griffith paints each planetary stop with a different mood. The emptiness of the moon inspires both fear and wonder. The humid, suffocating atmosphere of Venus tests the couple's endurance, and the cold, ancient look of Mars carries the sorrow of a civilization that once existed, but has since faded away. As the voyage continues, the trust between husband and wife becomes as vital a survival tool as the ship itself, since every new world they encounter carries an uncertainty that is at once fascinating and dangerous. In that sense, the novel is not only the story of a technical invention, but also a test of exactly how much two people can trust each other. What still makes this book interesting today is that it shows how the human imagination pictured interplanetary travel long before rocket technology actually existed. For a modern reader, this novel can be read less as a science fiction classic and more as a historical window into the scientific daydreams of its era. This odd fusion of honeymoon romance and cosmic exploration is also one of the earliest examples of the planetary romance genre, laying groundwork for the space opera and science fiction adventures that would flourish across the following century. The book stands as a rare document of just how vividly people longed for the stars in an age when technology itself was still in its infancy. It also reminds us that science fiction has never had to center on technology alone, since even here, the greatest adventure is inseparable from the trust two people place in one another. Today's reader, already knowing what real space travel actually looks like, can approach this book not as a piece of scientific foresight, but as a record of an era's pure sense of wonder, and it is exactly that innocence that makes the book strangely endearing. The novel also places a woman at the center of its adventure. Unlike much of the genre fiction of its time, the young bride is not merely a figure to be protected, but an active participant in the voyage, which makes the book unusual for its own era.
At the time this book was published, the idea that Mars was crossed by canals and had once hosted an ancient civilization was a serious scientific theory put forward by some respected observers, an idea later disproved, but one that fed the imagination of many writers in its day. As an interesting coincidence, this novel and H.G. Wells's own famous story of a journey to the moon reached readers in the very same year, which shows just how much the idea of interplanetary travel was in the air at that moment. Griffith was every bit as well known as Wells in his own time, though his name has since faded considerably, even as historians of the genre still remember him as one of science fiction's earliest pioneers, and rediscovering his work offers a valuable opportunity to see the imaginative world the genre passed through before becoming what we know today. The spacecraft design in the book reflects the era's excitement about aviation and electrical technology, shaped less by real science than by an optimistic faith in the future. Though Griffith's works are largely forgotten today, they remain a valuable resource for readers researching the origins of the science fiction genre, and these stories, though seen in their time as disposable magazine fiction meant for quick consumption, turn out in hindsight to carry the earliest seeds of the great science fiction wave of the 20th century. Even readers who have never heard of this particular book directly will recognize how the idea of an interplanetary honeymoon has been picked up and reimagined by other writers in the decades since.
We have covered this honeymoon voyage, but the flavor of this strange and daring adventure across the planet is best discovered in the book itself, and as you turn its pages, you will find yourself seeing, through your own eyes, the dreams a writer once had about the sky a century ago. If you would like to listen to the complete book as an audiobook, you will find the link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos. See you in the next book. Until then, look up at the sky and remember how boldly people once dreamed of going there.